Let me explain you what's going on. The chief of Blurbusters, Mark Reham, reached out to me and we want to do a Blurbusters approved video. So it is scientifically correct. So I already did the video. I'm just waiting for his approval. So the problem with that is my understanding and the way I can explain you things improves by the day. So tomorrow I can do a better video, but I don't want to do it again because it took me a lot of effort to do that video. I always do the videos most of the time first try. First try, whatever comes out, I'm being honest. I don't care about making a mistake. I make mistakes all the time. I care about learning and telling you and showing you things with the best of my ability. So for example, he was watching my videos and replying with some comments. And I made a mistake in this video when I discovered exactly what OLED Motion Pro does at medium, low, and high. So this is incorrect. 4K 1 millisecond is equal to 2 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second. This is incorrect. But this does not invalidate my findings because my findings are all about comparing the motion clarity. So this is correct. So my findings are correct, but this is not. And the reason why I made this mistake was because I thought that 1 millisecond of persistence was perfect motion clarity. And it is not. It's 1 pixel of motion blur. So I'm talking about the Blurbusters law. Let me open here the Blurbusters law and let me show you that formula. So this is the thing that confused me, and I'm going to explain you why. I now understand it better. And I will do an update for that, or right now. I can just tell you right now. So basically what happened, this is the formula. 1 millisecond of persistence is equal to 1 pixel of motion blur per 1000 pixels per second. So when I am studying this Blurbusters law, and I see that, okay, this is what we are trying to achieve. So he is saying this is a universal guarantee minimum motion blur that you will get on a display. So that is perfect motion clarity. And it is not. That is not perfect motion clarity because you have 1 pixel of motion blur. So when I am doing the UFO test, basically, and this video is not Blurbusters approved, okay? It is just me rambling about the situation, so you understand why I made that mistake. But that's a good mistake actually, because I have now much better clarity. So we open the UFO test. Let me explain you what happened. So when I open the UFO test and I am comparing Motion Pro medium, low, high, no black film insertion to get exactly the values, so I can tell you Motion Pro high is 38% pixel visibility time, so that is reducing the persistence to 38%. Medium is reducing it to 50%, and low is reducing it to 75%. So for me to be able to tell you that and to determine that, I was making comparisons. And here's the problem. When I lowered the speed of the UFO test to 120 pixels per second, this is the picture that you will get. Of course, you have to set the scaling on Windows to 100% and make sure that the browsers doesn't have zoom either. So if the browser has zoom, that's changing the resolution of the test. So to do this test at 4K, the scaling on Windows needs to be at 100% and zoom at 100%, okay? So when I am doing this test here and comparing, I come down to 120 pixels per second at 4K, so 100% scaling and everything. And then I'm looking at this UFO test, and it doesn't look perfect. So it doesn't look exactly the same as a static UFO test. So then I think, okay, well, this is not perfect. So if the Blur Busters law is telling me that 1 millisecond of persistence is equal to 1 pixel of motion blur per 1000 pixels per second, and that is going to guarantee the minimum motion blur, well, the minimum motion blur is no motion blur at all. That's my understanding. So no motion blur at all means the picture in movement looks exactly the same as if it was not moving at all. And that's not what I see here. So then I think, okay, well, they are talking about this 1000 pixels per second. They're talking about trying to get perfect motion clarity at 1080p. Because at 1080p, you would need 1000 hertz. Okay? And again, I'm not going to go in detail here in this video because I did that already on the explanation video. But if you are caught up, if you've been watching all my videos, you understand what I'm talking about. So basically, if 1 millisecond of persistence is supposed to be perfect at 1080p, then at 4K, I'm getting 2 milliseconds of persistence because that's not perfect. That's why I am saying here at 4K, 1 millisecond of persistence is equal to 2 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second. And this is incorrect. This is incorrect. It's the same. It doesn't matter the resolution. But the reason why I think that this is the case is because I think by watching this formula, I believe that 1 millisecond of persistence, I believe that 1 pixel of motion blur means no motion blur at all. And you do have motion blur. So this is not perfect. This is 1 pixel of motion blur. Okay? So how can you have 0 pixels of motion blur? That's the black hole of this Blur Busters law. Understanding this is not perfect. So why? I don't understand why, and I am communicating with the chief of Blur Busters to understand this final piece. And on the video I already did, I don't get into this detail here. I'm just getting into this detail in case you are interested. And that's the last thing I need to understand. So basically, perfect motion clarity, I believe, based on my testings with the UFO test, is with 0.5 milliseconds of persistence. So 1 millisecond of persistence is going to give you 1 pixel of motion blur. That is not perfect. To get perfect motion clarity, you need 0.5 milliseconds of persistence. That's my understanding right now, and I might be wrong. But I strongly believe that because I see it. That's what I see. So for example, if I lower the speed of the UFO test, I have 4K, 120 Hertz, 100% resolution scaling, 100% zoom on the browser. I lower the speed to 120 pixels per second. So I have 1 millisecond of persistence, or 1 pixel per frame. I should be able to see this perfect, and I don't see this perfect. I see 1 pixel of motion blur. So when I use, for example, Motion Pro Medium, which reduces the persistence, the timing. So it will cut that persistence from 1 millisecond to 0.5. I see now. So when I do that, I see the UFO test looks exactly the same as if it was not moving at all. It looks perfect. That is perfection. So I don't understand why, if 0.5 millisecond of persistence should be the goal, that should be the goal, because that is perfection. Why they say that 1 millisecond of persistence, this is a universal guarantee minimum motion blur that you will get on any display, no matter how good your vision is. This is before any addition blur is added, such as gray to gray limitations, additional smearing, ghosting, or display source limitations, camera blur, or slow camera shutter, or human vision limitations, natural motion blurring, it is an immutable constant similar to speed of light. So he's saying here that this is the end all be all, 1 millisecond of persistence. And that's not what I see. That's not what I see. So that's the question I have for him. I'm waiting for the answer. So it looks like he has been busy today, because yesterday we communicated, but today he has been busy. So that's what threw me off, basically. So I see this, I understand, okay, we need 1000 hertz for 1080p. So at 1000 pixels per second at 1080p, the object takes about 2 seconds to go from left to right. If you want that object at 1080p to look perfectly clear, you need 1000 hertz, 1000 frames per second. I understand that. That looks perfect. Then at 4K, I see that 1 millisecond of persistence is not enough, and then I incorrectly assume that then what that means is that at 4K this is changing, and 1 millisecond of persistence means 2 pixels of motion blur, because I see motion blur. And I thought that I was not supposed to see any motion blur with 1 millisecond of persistence. And there is motion blur. It's 1 pixel of motion blur. So that is the last question, basically, about the Blur Busters law. Everything else, I have it crystal clear. I understand exactly what I need, basically. My video, I show you what I need. Hopefully I can release it tomorrow. I can public the video tomorrow. The video is gonna be Blur Busters approved. Hopefully. I don't think he is gonna see any problem on that video. Maybe he will. Took me a lot of effort to do that video. So yeah, that's where I am, and that's the reason why this video is being uploaded so late. I like to upload the videos every day because I am learning fast. So if I don't release that video today, then tomorrow I am like, man, I know better now. I understand better. I want to explain it on a different way because I have more clarity. So if I understand this perfectly, I understand it, but if I'm sure 100% that what I'm saying, it is what it is, then I would explain everything on a different way. I don't really know why this is the end all be all. Why 1 millisecond of persistence? That's not enough to make the image looks perfect. So the same as in motion as if it was not moving at all. I don't know why. So the difference I see, so you understand, to end the video, because I can keep talking about the same thing, but this is so important, man. I love this stuff. This is fantastic stuff. I've never seen anybody on YouTube or anywhere, only on this Blur Busters law article, and I don't think they even talk about that specifically here. Maybe they do. Yeah, for sure they do. Yeah, 4,000 frames per second. I love that. But I've never seen anybody talking on YouTube and telling you that at 4K you actually need 4,000 frames per second. Why would you need 4,000 hertz, 4,000 frames per second? If you want the UFO test to move on the screen and take 1 second to go from left to right, if you want to see that with 1 pixel of motion blur, you need 4,000 hertz, 4,000 frames per second. And if you want to see it perfectly, if you want to see that UFO test looking the same as if it was not moving at all, you actually need 8,000 hertz, 8,000 frames per second at 4K with the speed of 3840, basically. So if the speed is 3,840 pixels per second, it's going to take 1 second to go from left to right. So for this speed, you need 8,000 hertz, 8,000 frames per second, which is mind-blowing. Who is talking about 8,000 frames per second on YouTube? But it is facts. This is factual information. If what I am analyzing here is is true, and I believe it is. Well, actually, here it is. Blur Buster's law on impulse strobe displays. Full persistence at 1000 pixels per second. 1 divided by the hertz. Oh no, yeah, this is the same thing. It's the same thing. I thought he was saying that 0.5, which is what I'm saying. I have to read this article again. Maybe he does mention that. Yeah, before I end the video, let me just scroll through the article just to make sure that he doesn't mention that. Yeah, I'm waiting for his answer. As soon as he answers me that, I will know for sure. And that's the last thing I mean, there are other considerations for perfect motion clarity. I might get into that later, but just as a basic understanding, that's the last thing. Yeah, so I don't see here he mentioned that a specificity. He's not mentioning that. So yeah, I'm going to end the video. Let me know if you have any questions, and as soon as I get an answer from the chief, I will public my video. And yeah, if I want to explain it better, I can always do another video. I will keep doing videos anyway, so my goal is never gonna be do, you know, one video that is absolutely perfect, no mistakes, all the knowledge, because that's impossible. I cannot do that. I'm just gonna give you the best of my understanding every single time, and I'm learning every day, so I can definitely make mistakes. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.